ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaskar my dear friends. In this video I am giving the brief biography of Swami Ram Das of Ananda Ashram. Swami Ram Das, born Vittal Rao, 10th April 1884 and took Samadhi on 25th July 1963, was an Indian saint, philosopher, philanthropist, pilgrim. Ram Das became a wandering ascetic at a young age. His story and his teachings have been presented in several different books. Ramdas was born as Vittal Rao in Kanagad in northern Kerala, India on 10th April 1884 to Balakrishna Rao and Lalita Bai. Ramdas worked as a spinning master in a cotton mill and in 1908 was married. He experienced difficulties both in his financial pursuits and domestic life, leading him to seek relief from his circumstances. Ramdas began to chant Ram, a name used by Hindus to refer to an important deity. Soon afterward, his father instructed him to repeat the mantra Ram mantra, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ramdas then added the Om to each repetition, Om Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, and he found the benefit at least threefold. He became detached from the material world and embarked on a pilgrimage, thereby taking on the name Ramdas and living on charity, though he never accepted money. His practice was to view the world as form of Ram and thus to see everything that might befall him as the will of Ram. His mantra practice also gradually became a round-the-clock practice. Ramdas was known for the always referring to himself in the third person, which is a common spiritual practice in Hinduism. In 1922, he met Ramana Maharshi. As a result of this, he went into his first retreat, living for 21 days in a solitude in a cave in Arunachala. Upon leaving this cave, he began claiming that all was Ram, nothing but Ram. After continuing to live as an itinerant for many years, his devotees established Ananda Ashram for him in Kanagad, Kerala in 1931. The ashram worked to improve the living conditions of the local people and continues till present day to share Ramdas teachings. A list of Ramdas's well-known disciples including Mata Krishna Bai, Swami Satchitananda, Swami Muktananda, and Yogi Ram Surat Kumar. Ramdas took Mahasamadhi in 1963. Please do not know what the name of God can do. Those who repeat it constantly alone know its power. It can purify our mind completely. The name can take us to summit of spiritual experience. Swami Ramdas, place yourself as an instrument in the hands of God who does his own work in his own way. Swami Ramdas. Just as a flower gives out its fragrance to whomsoever approaches or uses it, so love from within us radiates towards everybody and manifests as spontaneous service. Swami Satchidananda disciple of Swami Ramdas, has given this information about his Guru. If anyone wants me to tell them something about beloved Papa, I ask them to visualize what it would be like if, by some divine alchemy, love and bliss were to coalesce and stand before them as one luminous entity. That's how Papa can be seen with the naked eye. Papa was indeed the very image of love and bliss divine. What was the source of that love? When he opened his heart to Ram, his eternal beloved, Ram flooded his heart with never-ending, never-fading love. This happened when Papa turned to his beloved Ram with pure devotion and utter self-surrender, turning his back on the world and the attractions it might hold for him. It was born of the realization of his oneness with the infinite and the eternal self. Every fiber of his being then thrilled to the sweet rhythm of love. Bliss ineffable flowed over and saturated him, rising like an artesian spring from the heart's core. When Papa realized the entire universe of name and form as the vibhuti or manifestation of the self, in the state of pure bliss consciousness, he carried on his spiritual ministry till his last day on earth. Through his talks and actions, he gave those who sought him a taste of the love and bliss divine. The purest pearls of wisdom that fell from his lips spread sweetness and light all round, dispelling gloom, fear and anxiety that held the people in a tight grip. Earnest seekers were lifted up to higher levels of consciousness, getting a glimpse of true life of the spirit, with the result that a deep yearning for that life was kindled in them. Papa's talks were often punctuated with jokes and laughter. The total impression left on the mind of the listener was never to be forgotten. Once, to illustrate the futility of empty theoretical Advaitic knowledge, Papa narrated the following story. He was staying in a small mandir in Jhansi when a man approached him and asked, "Who are you?" "I am Ramdas," he replied simply. "No, you speak a lie there," returned his visitor. "You are Ram himself. When you declare you are Ramdas, you do not know what you say. God is everything, and in everything He is in you, and so you are He. Confess it right away." "True, dear friend," Ramdas replied, "God is everything, but at the same time, it must be noted God is one, and when He is in you and everywhere around you, may I humbly ask to whom you are putting this question?" After a little reflection, the man could only answer, "Well, I have put the question to myself." Papa always stressed the necessity of absolute honesty and sincerity as essential in the great quest. Better an honest dualistic bhakti than a hypocritical Advaita. Whereas bhakti, however dualistic, will lead ultimately to jnana as jnana mata, the mother of jnana, and Advaita practiced only with the head leads merely to confusion and hypocrisy. Another incident illustrates this point well. When Papa was staying at Mount Abu, he was taken to meet a great saint, Swami Kaivalananda, a young sannyasi living in a cave, his body completely shaved but surrounded by a number of books. Papa approached him and prostrated. With a look of surprise, the sannyasi asked, "To whom are you offering this salutation?" To Ram, Papa replied, "Who are you?" "Ramdas, Ramdas, Ramdas." "Funny, is not it? There is only one truth. Why do you assume this false duality? It is Ram himself being one who has chosen to be many." "Wrong," retorted the Advaitin. "He is always one, many is false illusion. Truth has become God and his devotee for the sake of Leela, the divine play." Papa responded, "Why play? For love and bliss, when Ramdas prostrates before you, it is yourself who do it in the form of Ramdas." Papa went on, "Boss, cut in the sannyasin. There is only one, never two." "Then to whom are you talking, dear Swamiji?" asked Papa, pulling out his Brahmastra. The sannyasin reflected a while and had to reply to myself, "Exactly. You assume there are two, although in the light of absolute truth there is only one." No, no, no realized person believes in duality," maintained the Advaitin, getting jumpy. "Here, take this book and read it. You will understand things more clearly. I assure you, it is written by me." He pressed Papa to accept it. Noticing the author's name on the cover, Papa noted that he referred to himself as Swami Kaivalyananda M.A. Papa, known as Vittal Rao in his Purvasrama days, was born in 1884 at Hosdurg, Kerala, to Sri Balakrishna Rao and Srimati Lalita Bai, a devout Saraswat couple. Papa lived the ordinary life of a householder until he was 36. During that time, he experienced many trials and tribulations from the worldly point of view, but in his case, they caused him to inquire deeply into the true meaning of life. A wonderful transformation was wrought in him, of which nobody had any inkling until he was suddenly fired with an intense wave of dispassion. He came to realize the futility of worldly pursuits and the need for a real, everlasting peace and happiness. Inspired by the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda and Swami Ramatirtha, Papa became thoroughly convinced that God alone can give one eternal peace and happiness. The path of pure devotion and self-surrender shone forth for him with an irresistible appeal. All attachments to family, friends and business dropped away just as a fully ripened fruit falls from the tree. He was inwardly ready to give himself up wholly and unreservedly to God. At that critical time, his father, noticing his son's waning interest in secular pursuits and his waxing love for and devotion to God, initiated him into the Ram Mantram and assured him that by repeating it unstintingly, he would in due time find the true peace and happiness he was thirsting for. As the mantram took hold of him, Papa found his life filled with Ram. It was then that he renounced the sansaric life and went forth in quest of God as a mendicant sadhu. This first year of Papa's new life is described by him in his autobiography, In Quest of God. It was thus on one morning in December 1922 that Papa left hearth and home by train from Mangalore. He did not know where he was going, nor was he anxious about it. He only knew that he was obeying the divine command of his beloved Ram and was therefore sure that he would guide him unerringly. The mantram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram was ever on his lips and in his heart. Besides chanting the divine name, Papa's practice was to look upon everything in the world as forms of Ram, God, and to accept everything that happened as happening by the will of Ram alone. Papa was thus directed to Sri Rangam. Here he bathed in the holy Kaveri, and after offering up his old white clothes to the sacred river, he donned the ochre robes of a sannyasin and underwent spiritual rebirth. As prompted by Ram himself, Papa assumed the new name of Ramdas, servant of Ram, and took the inviolable vows of sannyasa renunciation. Papa never referred to himself in the first person ever again. With the name of God constantly on his lips, Papa continued his travel in the company of itinerant sadhus. The journey took him to Tiruvannamalai, where he stood in front of Bhagwan Ramana and prayed for his grace. About this experience, Papa himself has said, "The Maharshi, turning his beautiful eyes towards Ramdas and looking intently for a few minutes into his eyes, as though he was pouring into Ramdas his blessing through those orbs, nodded his head to say he had blessed. A thrill of inexpressible joy coursed through the frame of Ramdas, his whole body quivering like a leaf in the breeze. In that ecstatic state, he left Maharishi's presence and went to spend nearly a month in a cave on the slopes of Arunachala in constant chanting of Ram Nam. This was the first occasion that he went into solitude. After 21 days, when he came out of the cave, he saw a strange, all-pervasive light. Everything was Ram and only Ram. Papa continued his travels, which took him to many parts of India, including the sacred shrines in the Himalayas, and then on to Bombay, and finally back to Mangalore, where he spent 3 months in the Panch Pandava cave at Kadri. It was here that he had his first experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. About this experience he writes, "For some days his meditation consisted of only the mental repetition of the Ram Mantram. Then the Mantram having stopped, automatically he beheld a small circular light before his mental vision, which yielded him thrills of delight. This experience having continued for some days, he felt a dazzling light like lightning flashing before his eyes, which ultimately permeated and absorbed him. Now an inexpressible bliss filled every pore of his physical frame. When this state was coming on, he would at the outset become oblivious of his hands and feet, and gradually his entire body. Lost in this trance state, he would sit for 2 or 3 hours. Still a subtle awareness of external objects was maintained in this state. For 2 years from the time of the significant change which had come over him, Ramdas had been prepared to enter into the very depths of his being for the realization of the immutable, calm and eternal Spirit of God. Here he had to transcend name, form, thought and will, every feeling of the heart and faculty of the mind. The world had then appeared to him as a dim shadow, a dreamy nothing. The vision then was mainly eternal. It was only for the glory of the Atma in his pristine purity, peace and joy as an all-pervading, immanent, immortal and glowing spirit. In the earlier stages, this vision was occasionally lost, pulling him down to the old life of diversity with its turmoil of like and dislike, joy and grief, but he would be drawn in again into the silence and calmness of the spirit. A stage was soon reached when this dwelling in the spirit became a permanent, unvarying experience with no more failing off from it, and then the still more exalted state came on. His hither inner vision projected outwards. First a glimpse of this new vision dazzled him off and on. This was the working of divine love. He would feel as through his very soul and expanded like the blooming of a flower, and by a flash as it were enveloped the whole universe, embracing all in a subtle halo of love and light. This experience granted him a bliss infinitely greater than he had in the previous state. Now it was that Ramdas began to carry out Ram is all, it is he would instinctively go into solitude. When it was present, he freely mixed in the world, preaching the glory of divine love and bliss. With this externalized vision, Ramdas' mission began. Its fullness and magnificence was revealed to him during his stay in the Kadri cave, and here the experience became more sustained and continuous. The vision of God shone in his eyes, and he would see none but him in all objects. Now wave after wave of joy arose in him. He realized that he had attained to a consciousness full of splendor, power, and bliss. In his accounts of his travels and dealings with devotees, humor was never far from Papa's lips. Always a keen sense of proportion leveled the absurd to the mundane and raised the mundane to the sublime. Once Papa was rambling aimlessly through a bazaar, not begging, indeed indifferent to food, as he was on a water fast. "Who is that man?" a passer-by enquired of a merchant. Pointing at Papa, the merchant replied, tapping his temple, "He is half-cracked." Papa, overhearing the remark, went up to them to correct the merchant's words. "No, brother, not merely half-cracked, why not say full-cracked, which is the truth?" So saying, Papa passed on his way. Any doubt about Papa's sense of proportion is washed away completely by the boot kick puja episode. Papa had been staying at Limdi, where he was being sumptuously looked after and treated with his utmost respect. Every day more than 100 people came for his darshan and satsang. Never attached to such externalities, as soon as Papa received the inner command of Ram to quit the place, he left. The tedious train ride was broken at several places by a change in trains. One occurred at about 10 at night. Entering a third-class carriage, Papa found that it was very full, and everyone was lying down at full length on their bedding, leaving no room for any other passenger. Somehow, however, Papa found a perch at the feet of a particularly short passenger. At the next station, a number of new passengers poured into the carriage. These had to stand in the narrow passage between the seats, while not a single sleeping passenger made room for them. Papa felt that he should give up his seat for one of them, and so quietly slipped down to the floor and stayed there. His former perch was, of course, immediately taken. At the next station, a fresh set of passengers came in. The rush was now so great that they began trampling through the passage with their heavy boots, searching for some available place to sit. Papa, crouching on the floor like a rabbit, received their kicks with no small delight. He rolled himself down and twisted his body into a figure eight in order to take up the least amount of room. Station after station, new passengers came in. They crowded the passage to well-nigh suffocation point. Some of the sleeping passengers were even forced to sit up, so Papa was treated with boot kicks from all four sides. Seated passengers had to knock against him when changing the position of their legs. The ones standing in the passage added their share whenever they were shoved. Papa's only covering was a single cloth from head to foot. He looked into unlike a cloth bag on the floor. Reflecting upon the situation, Papa said to himself, "Ramdas, only a few hours ago you were receiving puja worship at the houses of several devotees with flower garlands, sandal paste and aarti, waving of lights. That was one kind of puja. Now here you are immediately afterwards getting another kind with boot kicks. Where is the difference? Is there any less ram in one than in the other?" And so Papa went on chuckling to himself throughout the rest of the journey. He traveled all over India many times during the next few years and finally settled down in a small ashram built by one of his devotees at Kasaragod, Kerala. It was here that Mother Krishna Bai had his darshan and decided to dedicate her life to his service. Mother Krishna Bai tells of her own life and realization in her autobiography, Guru's Grace. By God's will, circumstances caused them to leave Kasaragod and settle down in Kanagad, where the present Anand Ashram was founded in the year 1931. This ashram became a field for them to put into practice the universal love they had gained as a result of their universal vision. Although Papa attended Mahasamadhi in 1963 and Mata Krishna Bai in 1689, the motto of the ashram continues to be universal love and service. About man's relationship with God, Papa says man is God playing the fool, meaning that man is essentially divine, but that divine has put a mask of ignorance on himself and pretends individuality. When he is ready to tear off the mask, the individual gets tired of worldly life and seeks peace and everlasting happiness. He then goes to wise man and accepts him as his guru, does sadhana as prescribed by him, and by virtue of sadhana and the Guru's grace, all the vasanas accumulated over lifetime are washed away and the mind is made pure. Thereupon himself is a mystery. Papa emphasized the need of absolute surrender to the divine will. He would say his will is supreme. If we are conscious of this always, there is no struggle in life at all. When we surrender to God's will, we put all our burdens on Him. He is only too willing to carry everything. Surrender means strength, peace, bliss and wisdom. But when the ego raises its head, all these disappear and man becomes a puny, careworn creature. God has made man a blissful being. What is meant by surrender? Surrender means to know and feel that all our actions are God's actions, all our moments are His moments. If we live our life with this attitude, our ego sense will gradually disappear. The whole universe is the play and form of God's Shakti. When once we know that all are forms of the one divine, all separateness will be lost in the great realization. Papa acknowledged himself as a Visishta Advaitin. Papa Ramdas is not a pure Advaitin. He believes in the coexistence of Dvaita and Advaita. The Jivan Mukta retains a higher subtle individuality. He moves about and acts in the world realizing that he and God are one. Ramdas in this body is active in doing things. Whatever he may do, he is at the same time conscious that he is the eternal and all-pervading reality. So in that state there is separateness and unity simultaneously. Devotee, is there no state when the Jivan Mukta can lose his individuality in the one and free of birth? Papa, that is possible. That is what the Jnanis do. They do not believe in the existence of a higher individuality at all. As soon as the lower individuality is dissolved, they cease to exist as a separate entities. There cannot be any rebirth for them. Adi Shankaracharya was one of that type. Having realized his oneness with the Absolute, Papa maintained a subtle individuality to enjoy his relationship with the Divine as a child towards its mother or a servant towards its master. He had great reverence for all saints and sages. Whenever he referred to them, he would say that he was only a child of all saints. He had great respect and reverence for Bhagwan Sri Ramana. Of him he has said, Sri Ramana Maharshi was in all respect a remarkable saint. After realizing the eternal, he lived in the eternal. His Advent was a veritable blessing on this earth. By his contact, thousands were saved from the clutches of doubt and sorrow. He lived what he preached and preached what he lived. He exerted a wonderful influence and created in the hearts of ignorant men and women consciousness of their inherent divinity. He awakened the sleeping soul to the awareness of its immortal and all blissful nature. By his very presence he rid the hearts of people of their base and unbridled passions. The faithful derived the greatest benefit by communion with him. As Papa had attained realization by taking to uninterrupted chanting of the divine name Ram, coupled with contemplation of the attributes of God, he always extolled the virtue of Nama Japa in sadhana. Based upon his personal experience, Papa assured all seekers that Nama Japa would lead them to the supreme heights of realization of one's oneness with the Almighty. On the power of the divine name, he has this to say: the divine name is pregnant with a great power of transform the world. It can create light where there is darkness, love where there is hate, order where there is chaos, and happiness where there is misery. The name can change the entire atmosphere of the world from one of bitterness, ill will, and fear to that of mutual love, goodwill, and trust. For the name is God Himself to bring nearer the day of human liberation from the sway of hatred and misery. The way is the recognition of the supremacy of God over all things and keeping the mind in tune with the universal by the chanting of the divine name. May beloved Papa, who is everything and beyond everything, continue to bless and lead all to the supreme goal. Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Thank you, my dear brothers, to watch and hear this wonderful video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot, my dear friends. Namaste, namaste.